Last year was our first time to get to see what the Byron can do at its full strength for McKinney, and it was phenomenal. It was, the direct economic impact from that event last year was around $28 million for McKinney. It was even greater for the region.
Yes.
And what the bleed over is outside of McKinney. But here we're talking about McKinney, and that was just McKinney.
And that's a 4-day tournament.
A 4-day tournament.
4-day tournament.
Yeah. And
now,
so,
there's some ancillary events before and after,
course.
but $28 million just added to McKinney during that 4-day period.
Yeah,
that's
it's
incredible.
phenomenal. It's incredible numbers. It was their first sellout since 2008.
Wow.
So to have the opportunity to not only host the event, but then to set the bar so high, so
Yes.
early in the tenure is a big deal.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for McKinney Momentum. You are in for a treat. We are joined today by Aaron Werner with Visit McKinney. He is the executive director, making a great impact here in the community for all things tourism. So follow along today. Welcome, Aaron.
All right. Hi, Madison.
So glad to have you here today.
Yeah.
Let's take us a step back. Let's walk back a little bit. How did you get to McKinney? How did you get to where you are? Touch on a little bit about where you're at with Visit McKinney today.
Yeah, absolutely. So how we got to McKinney, I grew up north of here, Sherman-Denison area, which is where I met my wife. And so once we were engaged and we were trying to figure out where we were going to call home for ourselves, we started looking around, and it was around that time that we actually started attending a church in McKinney. And so there was about a 6-month period where we found ourselves driving to McKinney more than we were staying in Sherman, and we looked at each other and we were like, you know what, maybe this is where we need to be. And then once we started looking at McKinney as like a place where you could live in a community, we stumbled on downtown, which even though we grew up just 30 miles north, like downtown McKinney wasn't somewhere that we really were familiar with. And so the second we saw it and we saw like the atmosphere down there and the restaurants and all the culture and the vibe, we were like, we want to live down here too. And so the next few months was just like our lifelong mission of like finding a house in downtown McKinney that we could buy, like a little fixer-upper. And so we did that and we moved and that was kind of the start of the journey. But I wasn't working for the city. That came later. There was a couple years where I was commuting to Addison and I was working for a firm there doing some marketing. And the commute, obviously, to Addison was long. There was a lot of time in the car, a lot of time to think about how cool it would be to work in McKinney and not have to do that commute. And then one day, when I looked online, I saw a position had opened in downtown at the McKinney Performing Arts Center for a marketing position. I was like, well, my commute could go from like 45 minutes to like 30 seconds,
4 minutes?
literally. And so I just threw my name in the hat. I had no idea what I was getting to. I had never thought about working for a municipality. When I was thinking about my career as a child, it was never to work for a local government. And so honestly, I kind of stumbled into it. I landed that position, which was really exciting for me. Soon after that, I switched in that same department from the Performing Arts Center side to the Main Street side, and that's where I spent a significant amount of time, around 5 years or so, focused on downtown and the development and the events and all of that. So really key part, and honestly where I realized like this is what I want to do. I want to stay in local government. I want to make a difference in my community. And so that was kind of the beginning of the McKinney story.
Right. That's awesome. So you literally have your roots planted in McKinney, in downtown McKinney.
Yeah.
So you live there and you work there, and you had a little stint where you left McKinney, right, and went to spread your wings some.
Yeah.
What would be a few key takeaways of what you might have learned when you left for a bit of time and then came back? What's a few takeaways that you learned from your time away from McKinney?
Yeah, so I think it all kind of starts back to even my college degree. I went to Southwestern Assembly of God, which we'll talk about that in a second. But I have a church ministries degree. I thought I was going to leave school and go straight into full-time ministry, and the path that I took, it didn't really go that way. I did work for a church, but as a lay student ministry pastor for about 3 years, a church plant in McKinney. And so once I had spent some time in local government and through the Main Street Department, I realized if I'm serious about this and I want to grow in this, I need to take some steps to set myself up for that. And so I started pursuing my master's in public administration through UT Arlington. The city of McKinney being a phenomenal place to work, they also are very supportive of people that want to do that. And so I used that tuition reimbursement program and pursued that degree. And once I was right at the point of finishing it, it was kind of an opportunity to make some big decisions, like what am I going to do with this? And McKinney being home and being the culture and the leadership that we have, I mean, it's a really tough decision to leave. But ultimately, I was had a really cool opportunity up north to go and work in some departments that I had never worked in before and kind of do that in a leadership role. And so I took it. It was kind of a leap of faith. I knew I was back now to that 45-minute commute. I was taking on things that were a challenge to me. And so I did that. And I was up there for not quite 2 years, but somewhere in that time frame. And so I went from being heavily focused on downtowns and festivals and focusing on small businesses to still doing that. I oversaw Main Street, but then I added tourism, parks and recreation, library, and communications as departments that I was overseeing. And so a lot of challenges that I had never faced. I enjoy that. I enjoy kind of big picture thinking. And so that was where I got to excel at that. But then I got a text message one day and it was like, hey, this might be happening in McKinney. Keep your eye on it. And it was for the tourism department and the Visit McKinney. And so I did. And obviously, being back in McKinney is a no-brainer for me. Like it's home. We never moved, and so when that opportunity came up, I pursued it and ultimately was given the job. And so it's been 10 months of just an amazing journey, being back and getting settled back in with all of my coworkers that I had from before, but in a different role. And so kind of recreating those relationships, but now in a leadership position and kind of building on that. But I'm back and we have an awesome team and I'm excited to continue on.
That's awesome. I can tell from, like we said in the beginning, you and I have known each other for, I guess, over 15 years probably is about the time frame. And I can tell you've grown in your leadership since you left and came back and had some learning experiences and opportunities. And so I can see you're doing a really great job with Visit McKinney. So tell us, what is your title with Visit McKinney?
Yeah, so I came back. I'm the executive director at Visit McKinney. For anyone who's like, what is Visit McKinney? It might not make sense. We're the city's Convention and Visitors Bureau. We operate under the name Visit McKinney, but we're focused on economic development through tourism. And so we're, constantly looking for ways to increase visitation to McKinney. But all the while, like we're equally offering services to our residents because we're an information house. We've got a lot of details of what's happening in our own community, where you can go eat, where you can go shop, and things like that. So of course we want to bring people to the community. We want them to spend their money, but I like to consider us as the city's concierge desk. I mean, we're the place where you can call to figure out what you can do on the weekend, but we're also the place that collects the phone call about how to pay a water bill. And people just kind of think like maybe they know. And so what I pride myself on and our staff prides ourselves on is not just passing those calls off because it's not in our wheelhouse.
Right.
But to take those calls to the full extent, get them directly transferred to someone in the city that can help them, so they don't have to get stuck in the web of phone trees and stuff. So
press
yeah,
9 and
exactly.
press 2, and no one likes that, right?
Yeah. So
good.
we like to just take care of people as well.
McKinney's concierge.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
So you mentioned big picture thinking, and that being one of the skill sets of yours, and what you really thrive on and enjoy. So Visit McKinney recently did a strategic planning session, which was really incredible. I had the opportunity to attend, and you brought in some really key stakeholders of the community. Talk to us a little bit about some of the outcomes that came from the strategic planning session and what's on the horizon for Visit McKinney.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of the top priorities of mine, was to get a strategic plan in place. Post-COVID, I think we all know that having a plan for more than a few years out is kind of silly. With anything can change it. But as an organization, you do need to have some goals that you're trying to accomplish. What I recognize quick with Visit McKinney is that our success as a destination and as a tourism department is directly related to our ability to partner and work with our strategic partners to really build out McKinney as a destination. That's not something that we can do being siloed in our own office. We need you, we need MCDC, we need Parks and Recreation, we need Main Street, we need everybody.
Right.
And so when I put together that strategic plan, we brought everybody into the room that we wanted to have voice. When we do a SWOT analysis of McKinney as a destination, we need to know what our partners are seeing and what their pinch points are and what they would like to see, and then ultimately our organization will be kind of that lead advocate or that squeaky wheel that continues to push those messages of where we might fall short in our community or what people want. But we spent over a half a day with a large group of people in the room, and ultimately we landed on 6 key items that we want to look at, from destination, building out our destination and the amenities that people like to see, and how we can continue to advocate for those, down to for us being a data-driven organization. There's so much data now that all of us in all of our departments have at our fingertips, and using that to know who is coming to McKinney, because that information is available now. You can use geolocation and cell phone data and stuff. So who's actually traveling here? Where are they staying? How long are they staying? How much money are they spending while they're here? It all sounds kind of crazy that you can
we all know
that.
We're being tracked, so might as well use it to our advantage, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have the Weather Channel on your phone, know that you're a part of the swoop.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot there, but there's a lot of ways that we can be a smarter organization by using that.
Great.
So when we do our marketing plan at the beginning of the year, instead of just pinpointing where we think people are coming from, as being in North Texas right here, you could say, I'm sure people travel from Oklahoma City, or I'm sure they travel from Arkansas, but now we have that at our fingertips. And what we might see when we look into this is that people are actually traveling more from Houston, or they might be traveling from San Antonio and not from these other places.
Okay.
And so we'll be able to focus in our demographics and focus in on what we're doing and who we're going after based off that data.
That's great.
And so that was a big part of it. But ultimately, we landed on a new, we didn't even have a vision statement for our department. Of course, the city has one as a whole, and we support that. Right. But we, as a group, decided that at Visit McKinney, our mission statement and our vision statement is essentially not our mission, is to be the most welcoming gym in all of Texas. And so we may not be the biggest destination, even in Collin County. There are some phenomenal things happening in our county from a tourism standpoint. But if you do choose McKinney as your destination, you choose McKinney as your place to host your conference or whatever you might have. When you're here, we want you to walk away with the feeling that that you were taken care of.
Absolutely.
Whether it's my staff or someone else that you interact with, we want you to know that McKinney values you as a customer, values you as a visitor, and hopefully you come back because of the way that you're treated.
Yeah.
You're not just the conference that's here this week, but you really matter to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. And again, I commend you for getting the right folks in the room, getting feedback, getting the facilitator there that, really directed the conversation and helped us guide us along to develop that mission statement and the goals and initiatives you guys have going forward. And from the Economic Development Corporation here, we're obviously happy to support those efforts and continue bolstering what you're doing, and vice versa. I know the EDC and Visit McKinney have partnered even in providing local catering and event venue opportunities and so forth for a local employer, which was a neat initiative. But our worlds very much intersect. So really appreciate what you're doing there.
Absolutely.
So I think that there are a few buckets, if you will, that your work often falls into. So there's, downtown events, and then there's sporting events, and, our wedding venues are very popular here in McKinney. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on in downtown and some of the events that, visitors or residents alike might enjoy downtown. And then we can kind of dive into the sports world too, because the sports world here is very exciting in all of Collin County and McKinney specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been kind of part of this process. It's like, who is McKinney as a destination, and what are people coming here for? It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to spend a lot of time going after business that is not coming here naturally because of what we have. And so when you look at McKinney, you can't get past downtown. I mean, that is our shining star.
Absolutely.
That's the gym. It's the heart of our community. And we, even just this week, we've had people walk into our visitor center from Michigan, from Tennessee. They're coming from all over, and a lot of times it could be just the fact they may have saw it in like a magazine or an article. Like there's endless reasons why people choose to visit, but they come from all over, and so what we see is downtown continuing to grow in so many communities. Downtowns are basically what they were 20 years ago. But in downtown McKinney, you see this continued evolution. Not only is the core growing, and you're seeing businesses pop up in places where there used to be, it could have been an attorney's office or something that was on the bottom floor, but it wasn't somewhere that people walked in and shopped or ate. So you're seeing some evolution in business use, but then you're seeing new growth and infill development take place that just kind of bolster McKinney as a destination. The Tubbs project, just to start, is huge. It's going to be a community, a place for the community. It's going to be a place where people can spend a significant amount of time, and that's a needed spot in downtown McKinney.
Absolutely.
Is that open space where you can sit down with your friends and have a conversation and just be you know, and enjoy it. And then you've got things like the Harvest 2.0 project that's happening, and all that's going to bring to downtown, and to have a third story that can overlook all of downtown with the windows that haven't been opened in years. You have Union Bear coming in, another phenomenal project by Restaurant 33 Group. We know anytime they build in downtown, it's a success. And
so for those who might not know, what does Restaurant 33 Group do already in downtown McKinney?
Well, they're Cadillac Pizza and the Yard. So and then they've expanded all over the Metroplex with different projects. But Union Bear will be a new one added.
Great.
And you've got other things like people want that place to go after you eat, and so the Horses Acts or a comedy arena, all of those type of venues that are there are going to be just phenomenal ways to build out a weekend itinerary. I think that's our goal is how can we give you a stay that you can stay like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or really just stay in McKinney. You don't have to leave.
So we've talked about downtown events and the activity happening downtown with some of the restaurants and Tubbs Brewery opening, of course, the new City Hall development on the east side of McKinney, which is going to bring a lot more open space again, and just a convening spot for our city employees who are traditionally scattered all over the community right now. Let's talk about sports in McKinney. So what's on the radar for sports in McKinney?
Yeah, so that's where we're seeing some significant growth, I would say, from a destination tourism standpoint, is in the sports world. You can just start at the top with the Byron. The AT&T Byron Nelson's a PGA tournament that's hosted right here in McKinney. It's pretty phenomenal, and I know we'll go into detail about that here in a little bit. But that just kind of sets the tone that McKinney is serious and that we can handle some significant sports events. We have hosted the NCAA D2 football championship for 4 years now. This past year was a record attendance year for them. In fact, the Colorado School of the Mines, it was their first year to play, and the Denver Broncos chartered 2 buses up to McKinney just to get family and people to come up and support their team. And so we've got that tournament that we've done several years that's under our belt. We have the NJCAA D1 tennis championship. So that's the junior college D1 tennis championship will be taking place the day after the Byron this year. And that's going to be at the courts of McKinney, which is a phenomenal tennis facility, state-of-the-art, and actually getting ready to open a new indoor facility that has kind of a buzz going throughout the sports community of what they can do with that. Then you've got Drum Corps International, too, taking place at MISD Stadium. Last year was the first year to officially get to host it. COVID pushed us back 1 year, but they were within 100 or so tickets of a sellout event, and that'll be coming back for years. In fact, DCI at the top level is looking at McKinney as an example for how they can do what McKinney did last year in other communities.
That's great.
And so we've set the tone that we can handle those large events like that. Bring your championships, bring your big events, but just getting into youth sports and looking at from soccer and softball and baseball and volleyball and all that we have. We've got our parks developments. In fact, right now, the Craig Ranch soccer fields are under construction. It's a $14 or so million project, turning 6 of the fields into turf fields, which will be state of the art, and will attract more business for us. All the way to some of our private development with volleyball facilities or PSA, and so it just continues to bubble there, and those events fill up our hotels week in and week out. I mean, they're the ones who are bringing in, their teams and staying at those limited service properties, and they're just a huge economic driver for us.
Great.
And while they're here, they eat and they shop.
So you know what I hear you say, Aaron? I hear you say that champions come to McKinney.
I think that's it.
You think so?
I think that's our new line.
That's
there
our
you
new
go.
line.
We're going with it.
Champions come to McKinney.
That's awesome.
So the Byron Nelson, we need to sit on this one for a minute because there's lots to discuss here with the Byron. The Byron is coming up here shortly. So tell us about the Byron Nelson. What kind of economic impact has it had previously here in McKinney? Yeah. What can we look forward to this year in 2023?
Yeah, I think, and kudos to our city leadership that pursued this, knowing what it would be, and to our other partners that were obviously the drivers for this. But last year was our first time to get to see what the Byron can do at its full strength for McKinney, and it was phenomenal. It was, the direct economic impact from that event last year was around $28 million for McKinney. It was even greater for the region, and what the bleed over is outside of McKinney. But here we're talking about McKinney, and that was just McKinney.
And that's a 4-day tournament.
A 4-day tournament.
4-day tournament.
Yeah. And
now there's some ancillary events before and after, but $28 million just added to McKinney during that 4-day period.
Yeah,
that's
it's
incredible.
Phenomenal. It's incredible numbers. It was their first sellout since 2008.
Wow.
So to have the opportunity to not only host the event, but then to set the bar so high, so early in the tenure is a big deal. And so that not only is what they want to see, but it also means that they raise more money for their nonprofits, and that's really why they do this tournament in the end. And so, yeah, McKinney's welcoming 40,000 guests per day on average last year. And I know this year, the Byron, when they looked at it, they said we had a sellout. What are we going to do to kind of elevate even what we did? And so I think it's hole 17 now is basically an entire like stadium seating. It looks like a venue
Yes,
more
it
than
does.
than a golf hole. And so they're continuing to add new things out there to attract people. I believe their suites and stuff have been basically at a sellout for a good while
Yeah.
now. And if you're trying to get an individual day ticket, I recommend you do it pretty quickly
Yes.
because we hope to see another sellout.
Absolutely. I'm sure we will see a sellout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 19th hole.
Yeah.
So obviously a golf course has 18 holes. So what is the 19th hole, Aaron?
Yeah, exactly. So with McKinney being the host, we not only wanted to see people enjoy the tournament, but we wanted to take advantage of having so many new people in the community that might not be familiar with what McKinney has to offer. And so we created a campaign called McKinney the 19th Hole. And essentially, it's a play on words, of course. But the city of McKinney, the destination amenities like your restaurants, your entertainment venues, things like that. After you enjoy the Byron, or you can come back the next weekend. Even we want people to leave there with a better understanding of how you can come and really spend significant time in our community and enjoy what we've built. And so we've got that campaign rolling now, and we do that to all of our target demographics where we know they're coming to the Byron, just to raise awareness that, come enjoy the golf tournament, have a good time. We want you to do that, but you can stay the night, and you can go enjoy downtown the next day or whatever it might be.
That's great. Any other thoughts on the Byron? Anything we can expect to preview or to be aware of for the Byron this year?
Yeah, I think that that they have big plans, obviously, with the changes they've made out on the course, and so it's going to be a great opportunity for people to have a new experience, even if you were there last year. And it's just such a beautiful course to get out, to walk, to see some of the big Dallas names like Spieth, and so I know they're all going to be back. But we're just looking forward to really rolling out the red carpet in McKinney and inviting people to see what we're up to and where we're headed.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, we appreciate all the work that I know you and your staff are doing to host the attendees and the participants, the players of the Byron, because we know it's a big undertaking for everybody. Our police and fire, I mean, every city department pretty much touches this event. When we're bringing 40,000 people a day, it is like I said, a big undertaking, but a great reward for all the work that's going on. So we appreciate what you're doing as well to help market the community, and we look forward to doing the same from our perspective on the corporate side of things. So, Aaron, there is a lot of momentum with sporting events and tourism activity here in McKinney. Are there any gaps? So if we have developers that may be listening, that may be looking to do some mixed-use development here in McKinney, are there any gaps as far as our hotels? We have some really great hotels already in place here, which we're very thankful for. But are there any other gaps or anything we should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. So back to knowing our market and knowing our strengths, we've also recognized some of our weaknesses through that process. And we do have some phenomenal properties in McKinney. But when you look at a community of 211,000 and growing daily, from a hospitality and destination standpoint, we have a lot of opportunity to grow and really get to where we need to be and the level of service we need providing at a city of our size. And so second full service property is a major gap. All of our major sporting events, Byron, NCAA D1 football championship, we lose over half of our hotel nights to neighboring communities simply because we don't have the property that they require for certain aspects of their event. And so adding those full service properties, adding those higher level corporate locations where you've got a name brand flag of a hotel where the corporate travelers can get their points when they come in and they can stay. But providing those services, easy access, walkability, things like that. That's what we hear from our community. We track all of that data and we can provide that to interested developers or parties that are wanting to see like hard facts of what are our gaps, what are we losing out on, and how can we kind of rein that in McKinney.
Aaron, that's great information and really great to hear that you have the data behind that. So it's not just theory or a wish list. There is true data and metrics behind some of our gaps or losses, if you will. And as any strong organization, when we see the areas we're weaker in, that only provides opportunities for growth. So appreciate you tracking some of those metrics and being willing to share them with any developers or folks that may be interested in maybe bringing some of that type of development to the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Aaron, a lot of our audience is in the corporate sector here in McKinney. So some of our employers I know that listen to our podcast. What services are available through Visit McKinney? How can a local employer partner with Visit McKinney or utilize services from Visit McKinney?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably one of the biggest opportunities we have as an organization is to continue building upon our relationships with you guys and with our corporate clients, just the headquarters here. But all of our major corporate headquarters are bringing people into the community for trainings, just business meetings, whatever it might be. And our office, if we are aware of what's happening and aware of their needs, we have easy access of working with our local hotels, pulling room block rates, pulling together itineraries for them, so to help them build out their weekend. If they need to take their clients out on a Friday night and show them what McKinney has to offer outside of the walls of their headquarters, we can help with those connections and really putting all the pieces together so that while they're here, we know that their clients are taken care of. We know that our local corporate offices are taken care of. We make their lives easier in that process. And then if there are extended projects where that every year you're bringing in a significant amount of people, we've created some group incentives as well with our local hotels. They would work directly with the hotel to receive that, but it's all being funneled through Visit McKinney.
That's great.
And so we have ways to not only work to make sure that the stay is great, but also to hopefully offset some of the costs, whether that's transportation to and from your headquarters to the hotel, or from the hotel to downtown for your evening activities, or just offsetting if it was a conference or something, offsetting some of the costs for food or beverage costs, things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think in talking with some of our local employers, they just don't know what they don't know, right? And so having some of those services available to these folks is really important. And my role is business retention and expansion, and it is to really help get the word out of different resources available. And for employers who are not taking advantage of the room blocks and the rate reductions potentially and those types of things is really a missed opportunity. And so, I think through our continued partnership and strong relationship, we can continue sharing that message and seeing employers utilize those services because they're a terrific asset.
Absolutely. And I think it all comes full circle to when our local employers do decide to keep those overnight stays in McKinney, and then those evening activities happen in McKinney, those dollars, they come back into the community, and then it betters the community as a whole. And so it's something that we are here and available to help with. Any meeting planner and any organization can reach out to us, and as we talked about earlier, we'll hopefully walk them through that process and make it easier on them too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Got it.
So, Aaron, one thing we like to do when we are concluding our time here with guests on McKinney Momentum is go through some rapid fire questions. So these are meant to be the first thing you think of. Don't overthink it. Just shoot out what pops to mind first, okay? Yeah. So, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Hot or cold coffee?
Hot.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Beach or mountain?
Beach. Oh, I second guessed myself on that one. Yeah, I could go either way. I said beach, though. I'm going with it.
You said beach.
Yeah.
All right.
It's summer.
Texting or phone calls?
Text.
Okay. What was your first job?
Laser tag.
Laser tag. Nice. Bucket list travel destination.
Probably an extended stay over in Europe.
That's
Like
good.
more than just a 2 week.
I like that you
get
have
over
the
there like a
extended
month.
stay
Yeah.
piece in there. That's pretty wise. What's some of the best leadership advice you've ever been given?
For me, anytime that I've taken leadership advice, it's been people who have really talked about how leadership is more about being able to bring your team on the journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
That the success by yourself is it's hard, and you're probably not going to make it too long. And so I think that's really what I've taken to heart, is the idea that whether it's Visit McKinney or anything that I do, that I have to be a supporter of the team, and try to bring everybody on the journey, and so that's what I would say.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. You're not a leader if no one's following with you, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome. You have a great team there at Visit McKinney. How can our guests keep up with Visit McKinney?
So we do a weekend update every single week,
Which are phenomenal.
Yeah,
I get ideas for my family in that,
Exactly.
and regularly look at it.
Back to just, that's equally as important for the people who live here. And so you can subscribe to the weekend update. But then I would just recommend our website, visitmckinney.com, or any of our social media channels, which are all Visit McKinney. And we will keep you up to date with anything that's happening in the community, and ways you can have a good time here.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure having you on, and you've got lots going on at Visit McKinney. We look forward to seeing how the Byron does this year in 2023, and the output that comes from that. So again, we appreciate the efforts that you and your team are putting forth there, and again, to bring all these other guests to our community that may or may not intersect with the EDC necessarily, but is very vitally important to the overall vitality of the community.
Yeah.
You're doing great work, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to be here and to do this all together, and so we'll continue that effort, and we'll carry McKinney on. So,
what's your favorite quote that you say about tourism and economic development?
Yeah, so it comes from a lady out of Irving, actually, and she mentioned this at a Destinations International conference. But the idea is that it all starts with a visit, and we've taken that to heart inside of our office. In fact, we just did a mural right when you walk in that's what it says. But whether it's a corporate client that's coming to the community to see if this is where they want to be, or someone, a family that decides that they're moving their family here for different reasons, everybody's journey has a story of their first visit to McKinney and what it was that attracted them here and why they want to, pick up their roots and move them here. And so we really want to capture that heart and capture those stories of what it is about McKinney that attracts people, businesses, visitors to be here and share that.
Yeah,
and so,
it all starts with a visit.
It all starts with a visit.
Love
That's right.
it. Aaron, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and just getting reacquainted as you're back here in McKinney. We're so glad you're here and making a great impact here in the community. And for all of those who are joining us today, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you can keep up with what's going on in McKinney Momentum.